All right, you ready?
We rolling.
Okay. Good evening, folks. We're here at the Moody Jones Gallery with Bariq Cobbs. He's not a stranger to me. I met him years ago when he was designing these shirts back in the day.
In the
90s. He's a Philadelphia guy. He started his pursuit at a very young age. I understand his mom got him involved in some classes because he was scribbling and dabbling back in the day when he was a youngster. Is that correct, Mom?
Yes.
He went to the University of Boston. He majored in animation and film. So we want to talk about his art, way he does his thing, so to speak, his motivation behind his art. There are folks here who know who he is and have known him for many, many years, and I'm hoping that today you may learn something different about him that you didn't know about him. The show is called Imagination. It was an idea that Bariq thought about, and he can explain to you the concept of what it means in terms of the show that we have here at the gallery. So I talked enough. So let's begin by telling us who you are and your background and you know, what made you decide to pursue this as a career?
As a kid, I loved drawing. I used to like Bruce Lee. So when I was a kid, when my mom, when I was a little kid, I'm like 3, I used to draw Bruce Lee with a red big pen. So that's my first memory that I remember drawing. Like, that I love karate and I love Bruce Lee. I thought I was Bruce Lee. I actually had a tank top with the sneakers. I used to make moonchucks, and I thought I was Bruce Lee. So that's like my first inception of something that I remember drawing somebody that I like.
Now, what mediums did you, over the time you developed different mediums, I'm sure, but when you started out, you chose to do what, and you evolved into?
Yeah, at first it was a pencil, a pen, colored pencils, then markers. Like graffiti came out, I was about, I'm gonna say 12, 13. This movie, so at first it was cartoons. I was drawing Goofy, Mickey Mouse, Pink Panther, one of my favorites, because of the jazz. And then, graffiti came out. It was a movie called Beach Street.
Were you tagging buildings?
I might have.
Go ahead.
I was more paperboy. So I can't incriminate myself. I'll take the credit. So basically, graffiti came out, and that was like, I forgot about cartoons. It was all about the letters. But it was cartoons too. But B Street came out, it changed my life. It was like, I used to rap, I used to break dance. Of course I did graffiti. I mean, at that age we all did it all. But it was like one you knew you was good at. Like, I tried to do the DJ thing, that was hard as hell. But art and fashion, that's 2 things I always loved. So B Street was like my inception to like the graffiti world. Rawness, the adventure, the danger, the excitement, the colors, the spontaneity of it. Like, if you look at my work, I have like a lot of elements. It's not one thing. It's like,
let me jump in right quick, because you said a lot. and what you said, you can look around the room, you can see a lot of that in your images. So when you dive into a piece, all the things you just mentioned,
right.
Do you put that all together as a subject matter when you put something on the canvas?
Usually I do. So when I was in college, I was doing animation and film, and I had I had art history, but it was Renaissance art, and I couldn't relate to it. I got from West Philly, I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. And I went to the library, and I found a book on African motifs, like stuff you got. And I'm like, this is me. And I infused that with the cartoon vibe. So when I was like 19, I had a style already. So that was the inception of that. And then I met my friend over here. We had a t-shirt company called Tri-Live. So it started with t-shirts, but it was always fashion and art. And from there, it led to other avenues. And I incorporate it in my work because that's my imagination. I'm trying to give you a world that you've never seen before.
Do you have a spiritual connection to your work?
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of me. I think I'm giving you a piece of me on every piece. Every piece is a piece of me. So it's definitely a spiritual part of it, as in the fact that I'm giving you a piece of me, that lives forever.
Well, let's turn to your left and look at that piece right behind you.
This one?
Yes. What was your motivation behind that piece?
What was my motivation? It's like a b-boy, but it's like many faces of a b-boy, like a guy from the neighborhood. Like I think we all have different, I think everybody has more than one personality. Or we have different ways that people see us. You know, you got your own perception. You got the perception that people think of you, and you got the perception that you think of yourself. So I think that it has them elements. And I think all these pieces have them elements. Even if there's one silhouette piece.
Let me ask you this question. I'm going to read this because it's an interesting statement to me. Once read that art is not always about pretty things.
Yeah. Life's not pretty all the time.
And it's about who we are in the sense of what happened to us and how our lives are affected. Can you tell, and can you incorporate yourself into that statement?
Yeah, so sometimes, so two things about myself. When I was a kid, I always seen, if I seen a spot on the floor, the clouds, I always saw an image of something. But as I got older, and like let's say I wanted to do something, if I was in a bad mood, somebody passed away and stuff like that, I got like an artist block. I couldn't really do nothing. And then once I might have came out the pain, I created something after that. But even in that, I made it beautiful, even if it was painful.
Are there any pieces here that could speak to that?
I don't know offhand. Because if you notice, my work brings joy. It's like a joyness in it. Even if it has some horror to it, it's still some joy. Because life can be horrible, but you can pull the joy out of it. If you can laugh afterwards, like, you know, you might have a bad day, you know, somebody might pass away. You know, life can be bittersweet. Like the other day, one of my best friends' father passed away. It was bitter. It was, you know, sad that his dad passed, but it was sweet because I seen all my friends. We was able to make each other happy because we seen each other. So I think life could be like that.
Do you think your works can be inspirational to people?
And my work is definitely inspirational to people because I feel like so many people have got their mojo from my style.
When you say mojo, I got to talk about that coach you got. So that's the mojo right there. What you say, stand up so people can see it. Stand up so people can see it. I mean, you see it as a part of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what made you?
What made you do the jacket?
Yes. What made you do this jacket?
Well, like I said, I like fashion. So the thing is, with people in fashion, to me, sometimes you gotta be a risk taker. Like everybody would wear the jacket. So me, I like the jacket initially. It's a rain jacket. But I created this element of graffiti and street art on it, and I made it my own. So it's like, it's part of my personality. It's not just a peacoat, it's not just a trench coat anymore.
Let me ask you this quick. I started out as a collector, and now I'm in the business of selling art and works that art, people like yourself. And I always look at art as having some historical significance. That every artist has a purpose and some significance in the history of art. And put yourself there. How would you speak to that?
I think I'm the voice of my generation, as in every generation have a voice. My voice came in like, I'd say the late 80s to early 90s. And, you know, my stuff has been seen and everything. Like I had t-shirts on Fresh Prince, Martin Lawrence, and then in color, a bunch of movies that came out, Soul Plane, Miami Vice. So it's documented. It's not just something that I did. It's documented in film and television.
Do you label yourself as a specific type of artist?
I feel like I'm more of an art. I'm like a fashion architect because I'm in all the worlds. I'm not in one world. Some people might just do art and they just on walls. My stuff is on every walking. Like I have walking canvases all around. People got the T-shirts on. I'm on TV. I'm in movies. I'm a walking canvas. So you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm a fashion architect, as in I'm not just an artist. I'm like an art director.
All right, now let's talk about the show we have here at the Moody Jones Gallery. It's called Imagination. So I remember you and I were talking about a topic, and I always let the artists choose a topic to title the show.
Right.
So how did imagination become the concept for this particular show?
Well, all the work has different. Some of the work has different looks, and it's similar but not. So when you have a montage of work, you got to give it a name that's going to encompasses everything. So every piece in here is from my imagination. It's something that I dreamt about, something that I sketched about, something that I created from nothing. The paper was white, and then I created color, shape, background, foreground, texture, and a feeling. So every piece has a feeling. Some feelings are more joyful, some are more playful, some are more horrifying. It depends on the style, the colors, the line and placement.
So you got inspirations out there? You got an artist or artist
Yeah, I got a few.
that not that you copied their style, but that inspired you to kind of view
I got-
their historical significance as it applies to you, and who are they?
All right, so one of my favorite artists is an artist named Bariq. He's from Harlem. He painted during the Harlem Renaissance. And his work is noted now, but he didn't really get a big shine. He does a lot of collages and he does paintings. Another one of my favorite artists is Basquiat, of course. And there's another guy named Keith Haring. There's another guy named Dukunin. There's another guy named Francis Bacon. He does like these horrifying pictures. I like Salvador Dali. He does surrealism. So the picture behind was Bennett. That's a surreal life, as in you never seen nothing like that. There's a head with a head upside down. There's a face coming out of a protruding door. There's a head upside down with the nose. There's a flying tie. There's a circle that can take you anywhere. There's a dark door. So it's from my imagination. But that imagination, that whole piece is from fashion. It's fashion, but I abstract the fashion and I made it surreal.
So let me ask you this question. I'm a collector, or at least I think I am.
No, you're a good collector.
And, and I'm one of them types that will look at a piece and I don't necessarily judge it when I look at it. I have to feel it.
You gotta get your feeling, right?
So if I'm a newbie and I'm trying to decide how I go about buying a piece, if they were standing next to you, what would you tell them?
I would ask, so if they were looking at my piece, I would ask them what's their favorite piece, because they gotta speak to them first anyway. So a piece gotta speak to you, because every piece don't speak to everybody. Because it might be a color, it might be something in there that was nostalgic to you, you might like a cartoon that I incorporated in there. It might be a color, it might be something sentimental. It's something that connects you to the piece.
What if I, the buyer, potential buyer, says, well, I want to put it in a certain room.
Right.
Do you try to convince them not to think that way and say, if you like the piece will just blend in wherever you put it?
No, I try to curate it in a way that it goes with the decor, whatever it is. So I ask them the colors that they want. If it's earth tones, if it's bright, vibrant colors, if it's fluorescent colors, if it's bold colors. So I would ask them.
Well, do you believe that should be a philosophy when you go about buying art?
Honestly. It depends on the person. Like every piece is its own individual statement in your home.
Well, let me ask you this question. Can you tell the differences between a newbie or someone who has been buying and then someone who's bought it?
Yeah, I can tell.
And the conversation they're having with you?
Yeah, I can tell, because a person new is new to buying pieces, so they going a newbie usually get what's popular more than what they feel. So a person that's been collecting, they gonna get, they gonna buy different stuff to curate their decor or whatever room they're putting together. So it's a little different. Or it might be a color.
Let me ask you this question. I know you had, at one point, you had an exhibit down at the, what's that children's museum?
Philadelphia,
Please touch.
Please touch me.
Please touch. So, to me, you had some works there, and do you look at that as a teaching opportunity to teach these young kids?
It was a teaching opportunity.
Okay.
So in that process, there was a residency that I had to apply for. I got the residency, and I had to do workshops with children. So I did workshops at part of my community. I'm Muslim, so one was at a masjid that my mother and I attended called Masjid Allah. So we did, I did 2 workshops there. I did something with they have a Muslim Boy Scouts called Jawala Scouts. And then I did something with the daycare, Medina daycare. So the age difference was between like 5 and, well, I think it was like 4 to 6. The other one was between 6 and 12.
So what you got going on in the future? Tell us what we can expect from Bariq Cobbs, like in 2023, 2024?
Inshallah, God willing, a lot of like international stuff and collabs with local artists and renowned artists. That's some of the stuff I'm putting together right now. So I'm putting together.
So there's an artist or two in this space, and I know that you guys collaborate and talk. That your differences. I'm just I'm different, so I don't partake in those kind of conversations.
Right.
I like to see the finished product. But do you feel that you have been what you want to be up to this point in the art world?
Yeah, definitely.
You think you can do more?
Oh, absolutely, I can do more. Because I'm just getting started. Because I always did 2D. Now I'm doing 3D as in like the sculpture. So that was a collab with a friend of mine. He's a major sculptor. I always wanted to see my work that you can walk around and you can see it off like 2D form. You can touch it. More like you can touch it. You can't touch it, but you can touch it. You can be like this, but you can't touch it. So like that. But you know what I mean? Seeing something that's not 2D.
Do you feel that you're being properly served? I mean, the art community can be biased. That's what I'm gonna call it out.
Right.
And there are opportunities out there that some folks get that you may not get because of your skin color.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you deal with that? If you deal with it at all?
So you deal with it. It's life. A black man always I could be the best guy in the world, but I'm not the complexion for the right connection. I'm not gonna get it. Like I've done stuff worldwide and tried to come back to Philly to get it. It didn't happen. It was like I got a green light, then I got a red light, and I got the stop sign. No, it's not happening. So that's real. So basically, I did something in Italy. I did art shows around the world. I did an art show in Italy. I did an art show. So in Italy, I did an art show at one of my friends. Is a pop-up art show at a place called I Love Tokyo. I got in the paper. They did a 28 editorial. You can look it up. All you got to say is Bariq in Rome, and it'll come up. I'm like, wow.
So you thought based on that?
No, wait a minute. After that, I did something in London.
Okay.
A friend, somebody I knew, she was a DJ. I'm like, yo, let's do something in Italy. Let's do something. She's like, yeah, you know what? I do this set every year at the W Hotel. So I painted sneaks live at the W Hotel by Keith Smith with Puma. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming to Philly. I got to do something in Philly. So I came to this store in Philly that's called Ubik, and I contacted the guy. He's like, yeah, let's go. So he gave me the green light, and then I'm like getting it together. Then I got the red light, and then I got the stop sign. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's crazy. So then the third thing happened is another store. I know the owner is an upscale boutique known all around the world. My friend called me, she's like, Bariq, gotta get something in here. I'm like, bet, I'm gonna bring in my work. And I had t-shirts I did, 3 different styles. She's like, okay, we don't know about this one. Okay, this one's cool. And it was a green light. I'm like, bet, I'm here. Then the owner came, she's like, oh, let me see. She's like, oh, because the buyer, she's a buyer, but then the owner came. And she gave me a hug. She's like, oh, I love the jacket. I'm like, you had a jacket. She's like, what's up with sneakers? I said, you can get the sneakers. Then I said, then she was like, how much are one of those? I'm like, 100. She's like, oh, that's too much. I'm like, too much? These were hand-painted, stone applique on shirts, $500 shirts. And like she had something there, that's her lowest price piece.
I think I know this for you talking.
Exactly, you probably know. But then in the end, she was like, oh, I don't want anything. Should I have hand-painted? I'm like, is you serious? So that's, when you're a black man, you always got to do it again. You can be the hottest person on the planet, you still got to do it again. Like for instance, Jamie Foxx was out forever. He's on Living Color, he had his own show, and then he did a movie after he did Ray. It's like, he's a new kid, he's out, his name Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx been up for like 15 years. So it don't matter. If I got to do something, I got to be 1,000 times greater than anybody.
So what would be your message to our fellow artists in terms of pursuing this as a lifetime career?
One, you gotta love it. You have to love it. You gotta love it because you're gonna have good times, you got bad times. 2, you gotta find your signature. People paint and people do art, but they great. Like you can paint, you can draw, but your style is just like anybody else's. What is your signature? So if you look at my work, it has a signature, it has a look, it has a style, it has a color.
What is that? The signature?
So the signature is, it always has an African motif. There's always the square nose, there's always the lips, there's always certain things, the glasses, the hairstyles, because it's coming from our generation of hip hop. Because I infuse African motifs, graffiti, pop art, and even some other art like Mayan art, Aztec. I love all that stuff too. So I incorporate all that and I cook it like a gumbo. And then I create something you've never seen before.
You didn't mention bold color.
Well, the bold colors, of course, that's from the graffiti era. As in graffiti, so some of my medium is usually acrylic. But I use acrylic, I use oils, I use oil pastels, I use paper, I use spray paint. And I use, actually in that one, I use my own, it's paint actually on there. The paint from my canvases, I actually use on that paint.
So let me do this. Let me open it up with anybody have any questions. My mom may have a question or two about things that she may have heard today that she never knew about. So we can take this opportunity to
Open the floor.
Open the floor. Anybody got any questions?
I have a question. When you get ready to paint, do you start with an idea of what you want to do and sketch it out first, or do you just have your materials in front of you and just let the inspiration come through you and then you create it?
No, I always have a plan. So I got a sketchbook right here.
Okay.
So that's the
That's the artist
so
dictionary.
I may have an idea of this. And then I might have colored it in. Not really colored it in. This book beat up though. Kind of beat up. I got more beat up ones than that one. So look.
Okay. Okay.
So
You know, those sketchbooks become pretty valuable in time.
So this book, this is a collage. I drew it up and then I colored it in. So that's an idea for something like the blue one over there. And then I create from it, and it changes. So I do sketches.
Do you have a specific time in which you sit down and do your thing, or is it more inspirational on your part? Like, okay, I got this idea, find a piece of paper, my sketchbook, and I start doing something like that. Did that, like, this is an artist here who's mentioned earlier that he is in the studio from 6 a.m. to noon
So,
in the morning.
so for me, my best time is at night. I'm nocturnal.
With like night, all night?
Night. I mean, my best work I did was at night. But I've done work in the daytime. So when it comes to doing work, I draw stuff up. I might have an idea, I jot it down, and then I might sketch it. It might not come out right. It'll take time to get it out of my head. I might sketch it out, and then, take time.
Most of the artists I've met and talked to, they always have those between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. hours. I'm like, why? He says, well, they say it's quiet, it's peaceful, you can't hear anything. If you got kids, they asleep.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a wife, she ain't mad at you no more. So you got the time to relax. That's what some artists
I always had, I usually had an art studio, so I was able to get away and do stuff anyway. But me personally, I always draw all the time. So me drawing, I like on the phone talking to him, and I'm drawing. So I like being in the car with him, we drawing. So I'm drawing, but some of the sketches don't make it to a canvas. It's just sketches. I'm learning what I'm doing, or I'm getting an idea. And then sometimes I have ideas, and then my idea I just jot it down.
So if you're walking around town and like in any particular area of the city, you sometimes get ideas just looking at situations.
Absolutely. I've been taking pictures before Instagram, like thousands of pictures.
Okay.
So I take pictures. I tear pages out of magazines. I see, I go to art shows. I go to museums. And I'm inspired by right now more like photography and architecture.
Anybody else?
Did your school support your passion, like as a child?
My school. I'm not saying it didn't, and I'm saying that it did. So when I was a kid, we had little art competitions and stuff like that, and I drew. I remember one of my best friends at the time was better than me, and I was mad about it. So I got better. Because when I was a kid, we had these, we had like a book with Marios in it. One side was green, the other side was white. I used to create cartoon characters like a whole scene on, and I used to sell it. And I used to love the Smurfs. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was just going to make a comment, not more or less a question. That, Bariq and I have fortunately been friends probably since 18, kind of lived in the same neighborhood. And we finally met after I went to college and we met. So I've been able to, be along this journey that Bariq has developed. And I would call it more or less a movement, because Bariq is a movement. He's not just an artist. He started in the 80s, and like you said, he was inspired by graffiti, art, hip hop, and we just saw that evolve over the time. And 30 years later, he still had it, and his style is distinct, and his style is universal, and it's an era because people see this and it takes them back to '84, it takes them back to '88. I went to Howard, and Bariq used to come to Howard, and his style and his look is also notorious with Howard University because he would be on campus painting shirts, so everyone knows this look and associate it with Howard University. So it's not just, Bariq, but it's also a movement based upon what he established, which was himself, Tribe Out, and also the scheme.
I just want to piggyback on that, and Bariq could probably elaborate on it more. The brother that just left said he wore your T-shirts when he was in college in Boston. And he didn't know Bariq. He happened to come here for either work or college and connected with Bariq, so that's why he was here. One of the reasons he was here today.
Right.
So that was something, that was probably 10 years ago he was wearing the T-shirts. Maybe, I don't know how many years ago, but that was interesting, and I spoke with him today.
I have a Mesquite story. I was in high school when the scheme came out, so I'm a lot younger. However, there was a class that we had to take was where you had to take care of the babies. You know what I'm talking about? The parenting, and baby dolls. But my baby doll always had Mesquite clothes on that I did with my white doll. And because it was just like, yo, she gotta wear Mesquite because that's the thing that's wrong, you know, like, so it was just so when Mesquite actually, you know, the paint, the bold colors and everything comes back, I was just like, yo, I love colors, I love art, so it's just like a.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more piggyback on that. Like you said, the guy from Boston bought the shirt in Boston. So throughout the time when we did the scheme, which was around 2002 to 2006, we had over 1,000 stores nationwide that sold the brand. And that's every city, every state, and then also universally like Japan, France, Germany. So everybody who wore the product or saw the product on television, it all led back to really Bariq because he was the main artist.
Right.
So his style, like I said, was universal. I was a person that was, entitled to getting the product in the stores, but it was his look and his mind that we had to say, Bariq, just go crazy and do what you do. And now it's become a universal thing because, it was all started in his brain, but then we had to get it out of his brain on paper and on the shirts.
So therein lies your historical significance.
Yeah, I already said it though.
But he went into further detail because you didn't share with us.
Okay, I
You
can't
didn't
say
share with us.
everything.
No, you didn't share with us your stuff back in the day was in all these stores over there.
Yeah.
So, to be clear, I did 1,000 things, bro. Like, no, to be clear, and he on the journey with me, we did so many things I forgot about. There's so many things we've done.
Because I was introduced to you because of the T-shirt.
Right, so we've done so many things, like, I've been in magazines, I've been in TV, I was on, like, there's been so many things. I've met people, I've been with people, I'm on movie sets, like, I've done it all. Like, it ain't nothing I ain't really do. Only thing I ain't do that I want to do is 2 things that I really want to do. I never painted an airline plane. I never did a car. They the 2 on the bucket list. But there's other things, like right now, I've been writing. I want to do a screenplay, as in I want to write, I want to create a film. I don't got to direct it, but I want to at least executively produce it.
So you want to get into a different lane.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right.
I will testify to that. So, on what Kenya said, being at Howard Homecoming, growing up in D.C., my mom worked at Howard College of Medicine. I used to go, there was a store called Up Against the Wall, and another store called the Madness Shop, and they used to have Mesquite shirts in there. And I remember going in there, seeing the Mesquite shirts, and that's what made me convince my mom to buy me an airbrush. Because that was the time when New Jack Swing came out, and everybody had jean jackets with rhinestones and airbrush. And I remember that distinctly. I remember going in those stores because those were the main stores on Howard's campus, Up Against the Wall and the Madness on Georgia Avenue. Seeing the Mesquite, and here we are, fast forward 30 years later, we in the studio together. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So the man really had an influence in our culture more than he may realize. He probably does realize it, but more than the average person knows. He really played a part in honing and influencing a lot of younger artists, such as myself.
I got a Mesquite story.
No, Ken, you need to take all the Mesquite stories.
I wore Mesquite on 106 in Park when 50 Cent was there. This
Bend down.
is the moment. Like me and my homeboy, we met 50 Cent. He dropped in the club. We had him on Mesquite. This was like 2007, 2006. And it's crazy that y'all probably were there. Y'all probably gave us the T-shirts. Yeah.
Wow.
That's dope.
It's crazy.
I have a comment.
Yeah, come on. Tell us.
I recognized his talent when he was 3. And I helped cultivate it.
He definitely made me the guy, because at that time, she always had me doing stuff that I didn't want to do. Like, for instance, I had to go to Saturday school every Saturday. It was like, no, I'm sick of going to, so I went to, which ended up being the college I ended up going to. Then she had me in art camp. So I always, like, the kids were doing, you know, athletics, I was doing art. And then we couldn't go out during the week, so I was drawing, watching everybody outside. Like,
Right.
so I became a better artist because I couldn't do nothing. Damn, I can't do that, I can't do this, like.
You know, another thing I wanted to say too, since Jahan spoke about cultivating his talent and interest, she's an artist within herself. Because she's very eccentric with her clothes and always been a trendsetter of her own in our community of wearing what she wanted or with color or extra or whatever it was. Her way was in fashion. I've been on her over 40 years, and she's always been that fashion forward person, not necessarily what was trendy, but her own style and colors and bright and things like that.
But to be clear, my mom actually inspired me as a little kid because she was in college and she was taking this sculpture class and she made some banging sculptures. Mm-hmm. I remember it was like a flower pot one, she made a banging mug, and she made a cup. And then as a kid, I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Well, Bariq, I must say, we learned a lot about you. At least I have. I mean, some folks may have also learned some information about you, and it was my pleasure to host you here at the Moody Jones Gallery. I know you and I were talking for the last 2 or 3 years, and it finally happened.
My pleasure for you having me.
I'm so thankful, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, man.
Okay.
It's a beautiful, beautiful space.
You can stop it.